What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Stateside Gunner podcast. I don't even know the words that I can say to start this podcast other than Arsenal are the 2025-2026 Premier League champions. And I won't swear a lot, but we fucking did it. This club, man. This club. What a great day. What a great day it's been. Um, this last 24 hours or so, well, not quite. It's about the Bournemouth game would have wrapped up in about an hour, a little bit less. Um, but I just wanted this episode to kind of be like coronation vibe, right? But also just a celebration and a reflection on the journey. I do want to. We'll talk a little bit about Palace and maybe the Champions League, but overall, I want this podcast episode to be about the journey and about what this club means to me and what and my journey. And I would love everybody else, whoever interacts with this, to let me know about your kind of journey and how you've gone through life as an Arsenal fan in the last while, because we all know it hasn't been easy. So let's just dive right in. Let's start from the beginning. So um, I live in the United States, obviously, and I'm a big MLS fan. I'm a big Real Salt Lake supporter. I grew up really only watching Real Salt Lake. I didn't really know a whole lot about European football until I was about mm, 11 or so. Um, I started watching the club in 2014 era. So this kit was like the first kit. If you're not watching, it's the 2014 that Puma kit that I think this is the first Puma kit that came out for Arsenal, and that was the first season I really remember watching. I didn't watch every game. I kind of paid attention to Arsenal. I decided the Arsenal would be my favorite team. Um, I have a cousin who lives in Dallas. Shout out Steven, who we had always connected on a level of soccer. That was our kind of connection, and eventually I remember kind of taking on the idea. I knew he was an Arsenal fan, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds fun. They have cool colors. They have a good logo. They seem to be pretty good." Little did I know. Um, but that's when I decided to be an Arsenal fan. We went out to visit him one time right around this era, and that's when I came back and decided, okay, I'm going to follow Arsenal. And the first game I remember watching, like fully remember watching, is the 2014-15 FA Cup final against Aston Villa. We wore these, but like that blue and yellow, and a lot of people think they're hideous, but those are some of my favorite kits of all time because of that memory. Alexis Sanchez and Giroud was getting in and all that. That was the Arsenal that I first started watching. Um, Man, it's been a long way from that team. So yeah, followed them religiously since then. Been through the Baku final, been through a lot of the Bayern Munich, the 5-1s and that kind of that era. And it was right around COVID when I really just felt that love wasn't going away, but like the frustration and the anger was there. Um, and we all know those were rough times. That 20 right before Arteta took over till about, that era, that was rough. And that was some of the lowest times points as an Arsenal fan. And then that 2021 season with, it that really molded me as a sports fan. A lot of my favorite sports teams are underdogs. They're teams that don't win a lot, and when they eventually do, it feels good. This is the first time I've ever seen my club, the club that I grew up watching for years and years, and went through all the hardships, and then second again, and the fourth place is a trophy, and all that. This is the first time I've ever seen it come to fruition and win. Um, So yeah, that's kind of my journey as an Arsenal fan. I went the first time I got to see Arsenal play was the 23-24 preseason. I went out to LA and saw them play at SoFi, and that was the year with the gold kits and the, Kai Havertz signing and Declan Rice. I didn't even get to see Rice that game. That was the one game that he didn't play the preseason. And I remember being so in awe then of watching Arsenal play, just because it was a shock value for me. I just said, and that was a great game. They beat Barca. That was a crazy game. Later realized that I saw Lamine Yamal play. Crazy. But yeah, went back again the year after. So the 24-25 season, to see them play at SoFi again. They played Man United, won. And that one was fun, but I remember it felt a little bit different. The vibes were maybe not the same. And then this year, also, I kind of skipped over this, but when I really started trying to create content I really started the channel during the Euros, and then did Arsenal throughout all of last season, all of this season. I've had some moments of ups and downs of not fully committing, but I want to, and this club means so much to me, and the knowledge that I have of soccer or football, sorry. The knowledge that I have of football and this club really is important to me. So, yeah, but then this season was the game-changing year for me. Um, my mom and I always planned to go to London to see Arsenal play. And the plan was, high school graduation trip, and then COVID happened. And then, it was, kept looking at it, and didn't happen yet. But then we decided post college graduation. So I recently graduated from university a year ago, and we decided that was our opportunity. We were going to go, and so we did go to London this year, and we went to an Arsenal game. I saw the Brentford game at home, 2-0, Marino Saka. Um, did the stadium tour. The first thing we did, we landed in London, um, took the train out to our flat. Couldn't even get to our flat yet because we couldn't check in yet. So what we did, dropped off our bags, and we went to the Emirates. And I took the stadium tour. That was the first thing we did, and it was mind blowing. It was kind of it was surreal, because this is a stadium that I'd seen a million times on TV or in FIFA or whatever, and I was there. And the moment, it it kind of feels like right now. It just doesn't. It didn't feel real. And that was a completely empty stadium, right? Getting to tour the empty stadium and the locker rooms and all that kind of stuff. It was amazing. Um, and then got to go to the match the next day, and that experience was also just incredible. I'll plan on putting pictures and maybe videos throughout this of my trip, but um it was it's hard to even put into words. Um Man, you wouldn't think you get emotional just talking about this, but um seeing the stadium, it was a night game. So seeing the stadium, I think it was a Wednesday game, but seeing the Emirates lit up at night, all the fans getting in. We were lucky enough to get it through the ticket exchange. We got like club level seats. We didn't get all the access. We had to pay for the extra stuff. But like getting there early, taking in the atmosphere, and then I remember feeling not underwhelmed, but I was sitting at my seats. We were sitting in our seats for about 15, 20 minutes before like the pregame, walk out and all, and not anthem, but North London Forever and that kind of stuff. And I was like, dude, it's not that full, and I really hope it fills up. And I remember my mom and I were talking for a little while, and all of a sudden I looked back out at the stadium, and it was full, completely full. And it was incredible. And man, when I tell you the North London Forever, when I heard that live, I'll try to put the video in, but surreal. Absolutely surreal. I was crying, and I'm not a person who gets super overly emotional when it comes to crying and letting that stuff out, and this club does that to me. It was an amazing experience. So, yeah, that it was incredible. Thank you to my mom for going, obviously, for working with me to get that trip done, and it was a special trip. And ironic enough, we also went to Paris and we saw PSG play, and that was sick. But kind of crazy that the two teams that we've seen, they're now going to be in the Champions League final. Obviously, Arsenal winning the Premier League, but I know this is a long talk about even we haven't even talked about winning the Prem, but just kind of my journey, and that's what it's felt like is a journey, and it's been hard, and there have been plenty of times where I've had moments of like I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this again. I don't know if I can keep going, and I always do because I just love this club and this community and this fan base and these players and the manager and everybody involved. Um, yeah. So that's kind of my journey, my story as to get to this point. I'd love to hear yours. If you're an Arsenal fan out there listening to this, watching this, tell me kind of how it started for you. I'd love to know. So yeah. Oh, moving on. Let's talk about yesterday. So obviously Arsenal getting the 1-0 win at Burnley. I mean against Burnley at the Emirates. Perfect, right? 1-0 from a corner against the relegated team. It was just the perfect Arsenal performance, and I remember thinking like, of course, this is how we had to get it done. Um, so Tuesday, I really I didn't want to watch the entirety of the game of the Man City Bournemouth game because we already put ourselves through so much as Arsenal fans to watch 90 minutes of this club every week, multiple times a week. So I knew that I would want to watch it if it was going the way that I wanted it to, and I'd kind of keep an eye on the score. So I ran some errands. I went to the gym. Of course, checking the score every now and then. It was hard not to check it every 5 seconds, but I just knew long term it would not be good for my health. Um, Looked at the gym, 1-0 Kroupy. I was like, come on, get in. Went to the grocery store, got groceries, came back, still 1-0. Took a shower, still 1-0. And so that's when after got out of the shower and I went downstairs and I was like, okay, let's turn this on. And it was the 85th minute, I think, when I turned it on. I waited as long as I could. Um, and I just remember like, oh my gosh, they're gonna do this. Oh my gosh, they're gonna do this. They're holding on. They're doing well. And then that goal goes in, and you just sit there thinking, oh, not like this. And I remember for me, especially, I'm like, I've avoided this game the whole game, and I could end up watching the 10 minutes where it goes completely lopsided. And man, and Bournemouth had chances. They had chances to make it 2 and 3, and they didn't. And I just remember sitting there like, hold on, Bournemouth. Just do it. Just hold on. Just hold on. And then, sitting there just on the edge of my seat, and the final whistle blows, and I couldn't hold it in. I laughed and cried, and just it it didn't feel real. And if you want to see that immediate reaction, you can go to TikTok. I did end up posting it. It's an ugly cry. It's an ugly cry video because I just couldn't hold it in. The years of waiting and being tormented by every other fan base about second again, or the fourth place is a trophy, or champions of Europe you'll never see, all these things. Our best players leaving and going to succeed elsewhere, and just all of that, and the memories of watching games and going to the stadium and meeting people, and it all just hit me like a train, and it was an incredible euphoric feeling. And man, I it still doesn't feel real. And I think the reason it still doesn't feel real is that we haven't seen that trophy lift yet. We haven't seen the actual pictures with the players holding that trophy. We've seen, pictures of them holding that cardboard cutout or AI pictures or whatever, but I don't think it'll set in until we lift that trophy. And man, we've done it. We fucking did it. And I could not be more proud of this club, of the manager, of the fans, of the players. You know, no other fan base in the world does what the Arsenal fans do last night. Obviously, I'm sure everybody's seen it at this point, but 50 to 100, I've heard other people say 150, 200,000 fans showing up at the Emirates just partying. Like when you think about it, it's like it it was a parade, but players weren't there, the manager wasn't there. There wasn't like it was just fans enjoying it all together. And that those images from last night are incredible. Fans from all over. There were people taking trains from hours away, driving in. I heard stories that there were kids that were taking Ubers that their parents didn't even know just to get to that stadium and party. And mind you, it's so late. I think the 11 is when it started, 11 p.m. and people were partying until 1:32, 2:30. Incredible scenes. And no other club in the world does that. At bare minimum, no other club in England does that. The amount of people that were at the Emirates last night were the amount of people that were at Spurs' trophy parade. I can't even imagine what the parade's going to look like, regardless of if it's a double or if it's just the Premier League. That parade is going to shut all of London down. That is incredible. And man, I hope those fans that were there know that there were plenty of people across the world that wish they could have been there, myself included. Um, Incredible scenes, and it just shows what this club means to people. You know, People have work the next day or calling out of work just to go be at the stadium and be with the people involved, be with the other fans that are just feeling all the feelings. And the scenes with Ian Wright and even with Robbie from AFTV and Ian Wright and you know the flares and the fireworks and the drums and chanting and all that, and it's just this club is different. This club is different, and I've always felt it, and I've always felt that if and when this team gets over the line, it's going to mean some. It's gonna mean everything, and it did. It does. I can't even. I keep saying I can't even fathom the fact that it's happened. It still doesn't feel real, but it is. This team did it. Um, this team did it. So yeah, every Arsenal fan out there, enjoy it. Know that you deserve to enjoy it. Don't let other fans of other clubs make you feel bad about it. You, you and we have all earned this. We've earned the right to be excited and to throw it back in everybody's face and to be annoyed, like to be annoying, and it could get even worse for everybody else in about 2 weeks' time if Arsenal end up going and winning that Champions League. But even without the Champions League, Arsenal are champions of England. They are the Premier League champions. They're the best team in England, and it's an incredible feeling. And I hope wherever you are out there that you're enjoying every second of it. Have a shot, have a drink. If you don't drink, drink some Gatorade out of a bottle. So, um, yeah, that's it about, maybe this direct Champions League talk or Premier League talk. Let's kind of shift our focus maybe to some of these other storylines, some of the other thoughts that I've been feeling. I want to shift to the players involved that got us to this point that aren't here anymore. Um, it's romantic. How can you not be romantic about sports anyways? But I think there's a large discussion that can be had about the players that helped Arsenal get to this point. And as much as I want to say like the Ozils and the Ramses and the Alexis Sanchez, I mean the players of the Emery Arteta era that got us here, that aren't here, that deserve a lot of credit. I think Kieran Tierney is a big one, right? He came in at a time where it was pretty it was pretty awful, and people were calling for him to be a captain at left back, and a guy who came from Celtic and really proved and changed the way that our team played. I mean, the for a long time it felt like the only shape of attack for this Arsenal squad was to give it to Tierney, have him run down, cross it in. Give it to Tierney, have him run down, cross it in over and over. Kieran Tierney deserves a big shout out, and shout out to him for winning the Scottish Premiership with Celtic. That's an awesome thing. Um, I think Granit Xhaka for sure. I think that lowest of low points where he's booed off the field and throws the armband or throws, it's just, and then to see his redemption arc. Mikel Arteta getting the absolute best out of him to the point where fans were begging for him to stay. And he goes to Leverkusen, goes invincible with them, wins that, comes back to the Premier League with Sunderland, and captains them to an incredible season that nobody saw coming. Um, but Granit Xhaka was he was that gritty guy, and he was the guy that a lot of people were frustrated with time and again. But over time, you saw what his leadership meant to the group, what his fire and passion brought, and I think he deserves a lot of credit as well. Um, Emil Smith Rowe, right? Emil Smith Rowe. The love that we as Arsenal fans still have for Emil Smith Rowe speaks volumes. There are players like Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah and, you know, plenty of academy players that have come and gone, but for Smith Rowe to have done what he did, it's the connection that I felt with him and with Saka when they were playing together. I just felt this is the future. They're never going anywhere. Smith Rowe and Saka are going to be with us till the end, and unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. And you just wonder what if, but he's out there celebrating somewhere. And hearing the Saka and Emil Smith Rowe chant when he was playing for Fulham a couple weeks ago, that hit me. It hit me because it took me back to that era of those were our guys, and I always felt like they were going to be our guys, and they weren't. But Smith Rowe deserves a major shout out. Those are the three. I have conflicting feelings about one, um, and that's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Uh, Aubameyang deserves a lot of credit for what he did at Arsenal, no doubt. Getting the Golden Boot, winning us a FA Cup, excuse me, and just being that guy. Like we still, as much as I've loved seeing Gyökeres and Saka, we don't have that guy that's going to go guarantee 20 to 30 goals in a Premier League season, and he was that guy that you could just count on every time, and it just really is a bummer how it all turned out. I think the way that he left the club and then the way that he came back and played for Chelsea, that was rough. Um, that's why I have mixed emotions about Aubameyang because he was my guy. I loved Aubameyang, but the last one I really want to touch on is Aaron Ramsdale. Man, Aaron Ramsdale. Ooh, quite the story for Ramsdale, right? Coming in, that keeper that everybody was making jokes about. He had been relegated with every team that he had been to, and we thought, oh, Leno was fine, Martinez was fine, right? And kind of felt like maybe we didn't need it, and came in, and a lot of people didn't like him at first, right? He made a lot of mistakes. He was kind of hot headed, and over time, I mean, some of the saves that Aaron Ramsdale made, jaw dropping. And honestly, he deserves so much credit for getting Arsenal to where they were. I mean, his first season was the first season that Arsenal pushed for top four really and didn't get it, that all or nothing season, and he changed the dynamic of the team and what that goalkeeper position meant for the team. And I remember when David Raya came in, and I remember being upset and confused. I'll hold my hands up. I will. I will say I was not not a fan, but I just felt I remember at the time I'm like, we could have used the money to go elsewhere. Why are we putting our and you could see why over time, right? We can all see why. I love Ramsdale. I have so much love for him. But he made a lot of mistakes. He even admitted, right? I can't sometimes it's hard to focus all the time and playing out of the back wasn't the best and his cross claiming wasn't the best and it just felt like that first season with David Raya, that 23-24, and you just felt, okay, this is the step up. And we didn't even realize that that was a position that we needed to step up from. And, David Raya came in, and we all know what David Raya has done. And I remember those first few games that Raya played, that Luton game in particular, I was losing it. I remember thinking, what is this guy doing? How is this the guy that we replaced Ramsdale with? And he proved me wrong, and I'm so glad. I love David Raya. I will, I'm happy to admit when I'm not wrong, but when things go a little bit differently than I previously thought they would. And David Raya is one of them, but Aaron Ramsdale, big shout out to him. So yeah, those are just a few players. I mean, there are so many, so many. Um, but those are a few that really kind of stick with me. I think you got to have love for Lacazette. It didn't work out how you thought it would, and um, Bellerin, and there are a lot of players. There are a lot of players, but Tomiyasu. But those are the few that I wanted to focus on, and yeah, thank you to those players, and I hope that you're just as happy as we are. Maybe not just as happy, but hope you're happy. Um, yeah. So let's talk just briefly about the Palace game. Touch on a couple other things. We'll get out of here. This is really just kind of a celebratory, emotional, awesome episode. I can't lie. I mean, this isn't my best work as a podcaster or journalist vibe, but it's just speaking from the heart and talking about this amazing, amazing football club. So I'll be right back. Talk about Palace, talk about some other stuff. Be right back. All right, let's chat about this Crystal Palace game that now means very little. Who do we start? What are the vibes? It's just gonna be a party. It's just gonna be a party. I I'm gonna go get a bottle of champagne, have some morning champagne as we watch the coronation. I mean, I did not think that we would have a guard of honor, and that's gonna be awesome to see. Lifting the trophy, the vibes, and you know what? This squad is probably gonna go win the game anyways, just because there's no pressure on it. And I say that lovingly. I do. But I think you can't fully rotate. You can't. I mean, you also just don't have the squad depth for it right now. Um, maybe you do start Kepa and goal. I have a feeling that Arteta is going to play more of the first teamers and then sub them off to give them their moments. The reality is Timber's probably not fully back. I mean, he's partying with all the players and going out to the Emirates at 5 a.m. You probably if he is back, you definitely don't start him. So I think you probably start Mascara. I think you don't have enough depth to really play anybody else in the back four. I mean, it's just debating between like Hincapié, Calafiori, Lewis Skelly, Mascara, that kind of stuff. But you don't have a lot of rotational options, anyways. Um, I think he'll go with David Raya. I would play David Raya. I don't know. I don't think you need to play Kepa. I'm sorry. Um, Mascara, Gabriel Saliba, you kind of have to. Don't really have many other options. And then maybe you play Hincapié and then midfield, I think you bring Zubamendi back in, get him a little bit of game time before the Champions League final. You got to play Odegaard, probably. And then maybe you put in Dauman or something like that. Maybe you put in Dauman. But Eze's going to get an incredible reception at Crystal Palace. I think those fans care enough about him that he'll get a great reception there. You probably play Madueke, maybe play Kai Havertz, but maybe play Gyökeres. I mean, Gyökeres didn't get to start last game, and then Martinelli or Trossard, take your pick. I really don't think you can rotate as much as people are saying, right? We just don't have the options there. Marino's not fully back. Ben White's now injured for the rest of the season. Timber's not fully back. You don't have Nwaneri anymore. Well, I mean, he's on loan. But I just don't think you can rotate as much as you think. I wouldn't be surprised if if you give certain players like the first half and then call them off, or vice versa. It's going to be great vibes. I think Crystal Palace are also going to be just operating on vibes. They're not going to care. They have that Conference League final in 3 days. Good luck to them on that. And then you lift the Premier League trophy. Man, I can't wait. I cannot wait. Um, to see Arteta, to see those players lift that trophy finally. You gotta, as a player, you gotta be feeling a little like antsy now, right? We won, we know we've won, but now we have to wait another 4 or 5 days to lift the trophy and do the trophy pictures and medals and all that kind of stuff. Max Dowman's got to go to school, right? But no, it's gonna be great vibes. It's gonna be party central. I cannot wait. Um, and I think, you know what? Let's save the Champions League talk. Let's save the kind of broader season talk maybe until next week. I think this episode, let's just focus on the fact that we are champions. Arsenal are champions of the Premier League. Incredible feeling. Incredible feeling. I've not been able to stop smiling or thinking about it or have some Arsenal content going while I'm doing whatever. Wearing an Arsenal top. I wore Arsenal top to work yesterday. Like absolute vibes. So, wherever you are out there celebrating this incredible Premier League win, don't let anybody take it away from you. Enjoy the vibes, and we'll catch you on the next one, as always. Come on, you Gunners. Up the fucking Gunners. Catch you on the next one.